everyone, Ben Woodruff here with another falconry video. Today's video is on the difference between hooding and hood training. There is a distinct difference, and it's not that one is good and one is bad, but I want to share this with you, and I think you'll find it valuable. But to start off with, in case you're new to falconry and you're not familiar with hooding and you're looking into it, I want you to understand briefly what a hood is and why it exists. So here's a hood for this very large hood for one of the golden eagles I flew for many years, Holly. And if you look at that, it's kind of beat up. It's made out of leather, very thin, lightweight kangaroo leather. It has on top, this is a little bit decorative, but it's called, these are Turk's knots. And even though they're decorative, they're mostly for holding to put the hood on. In the back, there are drawstrings that close it up. Those are called braces or drawstrings. They open and close the hood. So, why do we have a hood? Why do we use it? Now, birds of prey, you have to understand, are wired differently than mammals. We are creative thinkers. And so when you close your eyes, you're still wondering, what's going on? Birds of prey, daytime birds of prey, hawks, falcons, and eagles, I should specify, this doesn't apply to owls. The part of their brain that processes vision is much larger than ours comparatively, and it processes visual data much more rapidly. They are picking up more visual information, and therefore their brain can issue a response to their nerves and muscles. So their fight or flight kicks in much more rapidly than with humans. So in a sense, you could think of them as high-strung and fidgety compared to a mammal. So when you're driving, if hoods came about in the olden days when people were traveling, especially on horseback, for example, you're riding a horse and the bird's bouncing along. If they're wearing a hood, suddenly they're relaxed, they're calm, it's sensory deprivation. You're essentially turning off 80 to 90%, well, between 70 to 90% of the neural processing, depending on the species. That's great, they're just relaxed, they take it easy. This was developed for travel. Now, today we're traveling by vehicles in most instances, and it's even more pertinent because visual stimulus coming 60 miles an hour, 70 miles an hour past the window is even more frightening and overwhelming potentially for a bird of prey. And so hooding the bird can be a very good thing. But it's not the hood that is what matters so much as darkness. So you could use a hood. Again, that's a time-honored technique. There's different types of hoods everywhere in the world, and I have videos specifically on hoods. If you go through my falconry playlist, you can look them up and give more details about the different types of hoods. But the principle here is darkness, whether it's nighttime or you have them in a dark room to calm them down because they saw a fire engine and they're scared. You could put them in a dark room. You could put a hood over their eyes. Or when traveling, we can also use a darkened box, which is sometimes referred to as a giant hood. It's not a hood, it's a dark box with proper ventilation and a perch. But it has the same effect, it keeps them calm. Now, part of the reason is, of course, what I already mentioned, which is you are closing off, shutting off visual stimulus, and therefore their brain almost completely shuts off in a relaxed state. However, another principle that is often cited is many people believe that this behavior of hold still, it's dark, developed as a way to keep from getting eaten by owls. So I'm going to show you a clip, and I have to warn you, this is a pretty violent clip that's been going around of a Eurasian eagle owl attacking some nestling hawks in their nest. And you can see one of these juvenile hawks is preening and moving. It is spotted by this Eurasian eagle owl that flies along and takes it from the nest. It's a grim reminder of the fact that out in nature, it's not all fluffy animals and Disney characters having a beautiful time. It's a bird-eat-bird world, and because of that, birds know, hold still in the dark. So that's where a hood comes in. Now, the difference between hooding versus hood training. So hooding take some time to learn how to do properly. And you have the drawstrings open as wide as they go, and typically you're holding by the Turk's knot and you're holding your bird. You stroke carefully the chest of your bird, and then you gently, respectfully put the hood on, and then the drawstrings, the braces, you bite onto one with your mouth, and because you're holding the bird with the other hand, and you use your other hand and slowly close those drawstrings, close those braces. Seems simple enough. The longer you've done it, it's no different than playing a musical instrument. You develop some fine-tuned muscle memory. For example, the Turk's knot itself, you can twist the hood very gently, and there's subtle movements as if your bird's dodging its head a little, what's going on? And you whoop. And a good falconer with a lot of experience is good at hooding, and they can do it in one smooth movement that makes it look easy, and the bird's like, oh, I didn't even know I was hooded, and now I'm relaxed. That is the instance of hooding as opposed to hood training. In that instance, the falconer has trained themselves to master the skill of hooding. And you would think that it would end there, but it doesn't, because that is the falconer mastering a skill and applying that skill to a bird. Hood training is the act of training your bird to be completely acclimated and relaxed to the hood. So part of that does involve you having the skill of hooding, of being a good hooder. But basically, here's my point, is to break the hooding process into 3 distinct compartmentalized points in the mind of the bird. The first one is just the existence of the hood and the presence of it by the face. Now, think about if you were attacked by a predator, or if somebody comes and starts throwing punches at you, or if there's an earthquake and things are falling down, what's your instinct? Cover your head. It's a central nervous system right here. We've got to protect it. Nobody's like, oh no, there's an earthquake. I'm going to cover my knee. I'm going to cover my foot. No, we instinctively cover our head. And it's the same thing with vertebrate life. That's what other animals do as well. So predators know that. Predators, because of that, will attack the head and neck of prey. And so raptors, if any approach to the head, if you're moving your hand towards the head, if you're moving a hood towards the head, remember, the birds don't know what falconry is if it's a new bird. They just know that you're this weird human that's suddenly here. And so they don't know that you're not attacking them. So think about if this is just coming at your head, how scary that can be to just, what is that? And you're like, Ugh! So the first thing is if you approach and have it there and they can see it, they can acclimate and adjust to its presence. So if that's their head, is, stroke their chest and get it. And if they're really scared of it, nervous, hold it out here. Then put it down. By the way, this whole scenario I'm playing out, typically I'm doing this sitting on a chair, watching TV with my bird resting on the armrest. Okay? So hold your bird, do that. Stroke their chest, hold it up to the face, 5 seconds, put it down. Keep watching TV. 20 seconds later, pick the hood up again, stroke the chest, and each time go a little closer until you have the hood vertical, but you have their beak in it. And you want to do that enough, 50 times, 100 times, 300 times, until this is just something that happens. And this thing comes up. And there are instances of what's called high-level tidbitting, where you can associate food with this process with certain birds. I'm not talking about that in this video. I'm just talking about the process of compartmentalizing the stages of hooding. So once they are used to this, then you switch to putting the hood on without pulling the drawstrings, the braces. But you have to mix it up, that these are still unpredictable, okay? So you stroke the bird's chest, hold it up. Next time you do the same thing, but you gently put it on, the beak goes through, and you do that for maybe 5 seconds, and then you lightly take it off. Then the next time you do it, you hold it up, and you don't put it on. Hold it up, don't put it on. Hold it up, don't put it on. And then hold it up, and do put it on again. This time, leave it on 10 or 20 seconds. Lightly take it off. Hold it up, hold it up, hold it up. Put it on for a minute. Take it off. But all this time, the drawstrings are loose and are completely open. Now, eventually, within this mix, you hold it up, you put the hood on, and you bite, and you close the drawstrings. You close the braces. very carefully, very gently, and you leave it on for 30 seconds, and then you open it up and you take it off, and your next 10 times you do it without pulling the braces. And just keep at this way of mixing it up. The reason is you want the hood being on the head in your presence without the drawstrings being closed to, in their mind, be the normal occurrence. And then for some reason, every once in a while, these drawstrings gently close. And oh, that's unusual. And then build up the time that they are wearing it with the drawstrings closed. But don't make the frequency with which you close the drawstrings greater than the frequency with which you have it on with the drawstrings open. Now, if you compartmentalize in this way into these 3 different steps, back and forth, and do it often, your bird will quite quickly, even within one afternoon, one day, one several-hour training session while you watch TV, they will quickly learn that this is a good way to not be afraid, that the hood is something that is normal, that is something that is expected, something that is not scary, but most importantly, that the act of the drawstrings, the braces being closed, is not necessarily related to being hooded itself. It's a totally separate occurrence in their mind. If you can keep that in mind, this is a great training technique. Now, every bird's different, and some birds don't like the hood, legitimately. Some birds, you can train them and acclimate them even if they're a little nervous and they're like, oh yeah, this is fine. No different than taking a dog on walks that happens to be afraid of trucks. You get them used to trucks, they're like, hey, this is okay. But maybe there's some dog that no matter what, every time it sees a red truck, it will be afraid no matter what. You need to respect that. But just make sure, are you giving up on a bird because you're trying to hood the bird when you haven't tried yet to hood train the bird? If you have properly tried to hood train the bird and the bird is like, it's very rare, but if that's their mentality, respect it and come up with alternatives. One that's very common is the giant hood that I mentioned, the travel box. I've got a goshawk right now that is that instance. It's a bird that was trained well, not by me, and I've been working with him, and he's like, no hooding, and it ruins the relationship of trust. So we have a good system together, and anytime we travel, we use that travel box, and it works well. All the rest of my diurnal raptors hood beautifully and have been hood trained, and I think it's a powerful system that can really help. But one thing you need to watch about yourself is never, ever, ever use the hood as a tool of frustration. If you haven't watched my video on the principle of training birds in the way of discipline, go back and watch that in my falconry lineup on my falconry playlist. But just remember, I'll address that in greater depth on that video, but the hood is not a tool to use out of frustration with your shortcomings. If your bird is screaming at you, or it's mad for some reason, or it footed you, grabbed you in the face, and you're like, you can never say, I'm mad at you, I'm gonna hood you. No, do not ever do that. Keep your mind clear, keep your mind calm, and only use the hood either for hooding or with a hood-trained situation. Those two are acceptable. And if it doesn't work, switch to a travel box and keep yourself on a high level of practicing this art. And remember to never use the hood as a tool of frustration. So I hope this technique serves you well. Be sure to check out my other videos. Go to my falconry playlist. I've got a lot of videos on a wide range of subjects. And hit subscribe if you like what you see. And tell me what other videos you'd like me to produce. And as always, happy hawking.